Right at it. Right at it. Oh, he's done it again. Just as he did at the John Deere for his first win.
Before we get started, just want to say thank you to everyone for the support that we received on our first episode. We got over 700 listens on all platforms in just 24 hours. I think that is pretty incredible. So yeah, we just want to say thank you for the support. We worked really hard on this, and it feels really good to have it pay off like this. So this will be a shorter pod. We're just going to go into the player of the year, rookie of the year, and basically just recapping how the season ended. We're on to 2022. So yeah, without further ado, Patrick Cantlay took the 2021 PGA Tour Player of the Year award. That has been a big debate throughout the golf world recently because Jon Rahm did have a few wins taken away from him, and Patrick Cantlay won a lot of. He not only did he win the Memorial that Jon Rahm was up 6 shots in before having to withdraw due to COVID-19, but also he won the Tour Championship, which he was actually beat out by a few players, if not taken into account the starting strokes. I'll let the other two people here, Dan and Jordan, give their opinions on who they think should have won, and then I'll tell you guys who I think should have won. So Dan, what do you think?
I think it's pretty clearly Jon Rahm was the best player this year. It's just a case of getting unlucky with COVID. A simple-ish way to look at it, I guess, is if Rahm doesn't test positive for COVID during the Memorial when he was up six strokes over Cantlay, he wins that tournament, gives him 2 wins. Cantlay now has 3 instead of 4, and then giving the FedEx Cup points, he has more starting strokes in East Lake. Then he wins the Tour Championship. Therefore, Rahm has 3, Cantlay has 2, and it's pretty clearly Rahm who's the player of the year because he also played better in all of the majors. I think he top 10'd in every major this season.
I know he beat Cantlay in every major.
Yeah, Cantlay was not good in the majors this year. And then, of course, Rahm has the win at the U.S. Open. So I think it's pretty clearly Rahm. He just got unlucky. But because it's voted for by the players, I can kind of understand why they went Cantlay because, they want to – the case for Cantlay is that he was put in situations where he was in the lead right at the Memorial,
and he converted
championship, right? And he converted. He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. I feel like you can't take away from that either because sleep, especially at East Lake, sleeping with the lead for 4 nights, not even 4 nights. He slept with the lead going into the Tour Championship. That's almost like 8 nights. That's a tough thing to do. You can't take it away. You can't take away from the fact that Patrick Cantlay had a very, very good season. But actually, I'll just say right now, I do think Jon Rahm was the better player this year. And that's why I think he should have won. The FedEx Cup obviously is a game of numbers. It's won based on points and strokes in the Tour Championship. But the Player of the Year award is voted on. And obviously on paper and by the numbers, Patrick Cantlay should have won by a lot because he had 4 wins and Jon Rahm had 1. But if you look into how that all went down, which is how you have to, if you're talking about an award that's voted on, there's just a lot more to that story, which is where I think that Jon Rahm should have won just because of the fact that, again, you said COVID basically took away not only 1, but 2 wins because that extra 500 points that he would have gotten. And another thing I want to talk about is recency bias. I feel like Jon Rahm, even though he played well in the Tour Championship, he hadn't won since the U.S. Open, and Patrick Cantlay had won two times. So I feel like there's a lot to be said about recency bias. And again, I think what you said about how the players want to elevate that 15 million and elevate the FedEx Cup, because as you know, it's been going up. It was 10 million a few years ago. Then I forget what it was last year, but it's now 15 million. So again, keep elevating that, and the prize will go up. And obviously, that's what the players want. So Jordan, I'll let you chime.
Yeah. In fairness to Patrick Cantlay, I know we will get into the Rookie of the Year award later. I think Cantlay had an argument, whereas in the Rookie of the Year, it was very clearly Will Zalatoris who was the Rookie of the Year. No offense to Garrett Higo, but it's not close there. I can see an argument for Cantlay, but at the same time, I really can't. As our audience will see as we dive in, and we're just getting started here, episode 2, there is a boatload of things and issues I have with the PGA Tour. And one of them, just to start, is the stupidity of the Tour Championship being qualified as a win. Patrick Cantlay did not shoot the lowest score.
He didn't even shoot like top 5, right? Or what? He was probably something up there, but he was. Kevin Na beat him too.
Exactly.
I think he was T4.
I don't know off the top.
That's ridiculous.
I don't know off the top of my head, but the fact that Patrick Cantlay gets an official win for not shooting the lowest score is stupid. I know Justin Thomas illuminated to that point in one of his post-round pressers. It's just dumb. I give a lot of credit, as I know it's got issues too, but the official World Golf Ranking for the Tour Championship, for our audience that doesn't know, they awarded first place to Kevin Na and Jon Rahm. It was a tie first for both of them because they shot the lowest score. That's the way it should be. I don't have a problem with the starting strokes at East Lake. I really don't. The problem I do have is A, the winner of the Tour Championship, Patrick Cantlay, didn't shoot the lowest score, and B, there's just way too many points given out
100%.
in these playoff events. I mean, 4 quadruple points is just stupid. I mean, if you have a guy in the future who wins both playoff events, that's worth 8 regular PGA Tour events. That's, I mean, 8 PGA Tour events will, I don't want to say it'll never happen again, but I mean,
Jordan probably will never happen
5 and 15, and that, I mean, is his career year is 2015. So the whole system needs fixing. But at the end of the day, Jon Rahm was the most consistent player this year. He was better in the majors. Cantlay sucked in the majors, and he miscut at the players. And Rahm is just, he's Mr. Consistent. So in my opinion, it's just not an argument. Jon Rahm is the player of the year.
I actually want to touch on one of the things you said there about how the starting strokes you don't have a problem with. I don't really know my opinion on that. I would like to see it done a little bit of a different way, but what I did hear was the reason why the players love it is Justin Thomas said in an interview, or maybe I think it was Justin Thomas a few years ago, is that the reason why they wanted to do that is because it was really frustrating for players coming down the back 9 at East Lake, not knowing where they stood in the FedEx Cup.
Oh yeah,
which I understand. Which I understand. And I feel like that's why they did the starting strokes, because the fact that, I mean, if Patrick Cantlay doesn't know what he needs on the 18th hole in the last group, that kind of defeats the whole purpose. Like, I feel like you need to have some system. I personally would like to see them do 4 playoff events and cut it down to 10 for East Lake and do straight up, because I think at that point, the 10 best players of the year, any one of those should be able to win. It should just be whoever's the best player. That 5 groups of 2 for 4 days. That's how I'd like to see it done. But again, the PGA Tour has been really stuck up on trying to get the season done before the NFL.
Which makes sense.
Which 100% makes up, because I'm sorry, they're never going to compete with football rankings ever.
Nothing does, to be fair.
Nothing does. But yeah, so I agree. I think we're all pretty much in agreement that Jon Rahm should have won the Player of the Year, and the PGA of America also has a Player of the Year, and they gave it to Jon Rahm, which I feel like is, I think last year they gave it to one of them gave it to DJ, and the other one gave it, I forget which one was which, but they did not do the same one either. So I think
that's very telling.
Yeah. I think the PGA Tour gave it to Justin Thomas, and the PGA of America gave it to Dustin Johnson.
Interesting.
If I can
just interrupt for a second, then I'll let Dan go. Here's my feeling for the tour. I just bashed the tour for a couple minutes there, so I understand I'm kind of going away from it, but I feel for the tour in the sense because this tour championship, it's difficult. I don't think there is one sole correct format.
Agreed.
That's why they're changing it like every single year, it seems. So I feel bad for them. I had an idea probably about a month ago. I would like a modified match play.
I am 100% in for that.
Where so you have 32 guys, if you're the higher seed in your match, you start like 1 or 2 up in the match. I know some viewers might think like, what the heck is he talking about? But you can't have, I don't care if it's the 1 seed versus the 32 seed, you can't have it start all squared. It's not like the NCAA tournament where the 1 seed always wins, besides one time in history.
Agreed.
You got to give the higher seeds some sort of advantage. So I would like to see something like that in the future.
And another thing that's tough is that when it comes to the FedEx Cup playoffs, it's not like it's not like any other sport. The players simply do not care as much as they do for the majors.
Not at all.
And it's tough to elevate something. It's never going to be that way. And as much as the tour wants it to be that way, and I get the money is a lot, but Jordan Spieth is simply never, as you said last episode, the Open Championship was the end of his season.
I fully believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the FedEx Cup playoffs are 100% a money grab because it's a good payout all the way down the line. It's not just for first, but it's just never going to be to that status. So I feel like it's tough to make it that, Dan.
Yeah. It'd be one thing if the FedEx Cup trophy was the award for winning the tournament, but instead it's the award for winning the season, if that makes any sense. So it's tough you can't really compare it to a Super Bowl.
Correct.
How like 2 teams get there and they both play one game to get this season long prize because they've marched all the way to get to that point. Whereas if you win the tour championship, you also win a prize for winning the tour championship. And then now you also get the FedEx Cup. So it's if the FedEx Cup was like a major, if that makes any sense, like if it was a tournament to decide this big trophy and they started from 0 strokes or they started on even strokes, I think it wouldn't, like Jordan mentioned, it wouldn't be fair to the guys that had played so well all year to get to the point of the playoffs and like having themselves be in the higher seeds and higher positions to win something that is supposed to define who is the champion of the season. And some reshuffling needs to be done. I think honestly, I don't mind the starting strokes, but I think 10 under to even is a little stretched out.
I also think that the big thing is like how 5th starts as 6 starts 5 back.
Yeah.
30th starts 5 back of 6th. I feel like that's what a big problem is.
Yeah, because then we're just gonna keep getting these 2-man, like Sundays. That's just not that interesting, honestly. I mean, Rahm kind of made it interesting, but if Rahm played like meh golf that week, Cantlay wins by what, 4, 5, 6? Like it's not even that close, and that's mainly just because he won the week before, which was worth 2,000 FedEx Cup points to get him into that spot. So it just seems a little, it's just not quite right. And I don't know who mentioned it, but I don't know if it ever will be quite right because golf is just different than every other sport.
There is no perfect format.
The thing I don't get is they have the player advisory council. Don't they meet to get a majority vote from the players that are on that board and that council to see what those guys would want?
I think truly the players, I think they want this. I think in the end, maybe not this exact, but I think that they want it to be stroke play because they know in match play, it's a lot more iffy. I mean, golf is a game where anyone can win on any given day, and Tom Hoagie can be Justin Thomas in match play in any given match.
Right. Yeah.
which is,
Stroke
like,
play
weird.
gives you the best player over 4
Agreed.
days. Right. So that's
Agree.
why they do it. And I think, along the player association lines, you can see them voting for Cantlay makes sense because they are, like Bob said earlier, they are trying to promote this FedEx Cup in a way.
For
Like
sure.
they are trying to make this a big
Yeah.
deal. But it's still kind of clear in some ways that not a lot of the big name players actually not care, but just when they get there, my main problem is that Sunday is just not
Entertaining.
that entertaining, right? Like there's 2 dudes that are playing for all this money, and maybe next year it'll be 7 or 8 guys, and it'll be like, man, this is the best format ever. But right now, I think it needs. I don't know what the tweak is. I think it's got to be stroke play. Match play would be sick, but I don't think that's how you determine the best player.
But another thing is, if you get it to a certain amount, and you maybe you cut it down to 8, and then maybe you cut it down to like 15, have one stroke play round to get down to 8. Because if you have the top 8 in match play, then again, just like the scenario with the top 10, just straight up for 4 days, any one of those 8 players deserves it. Any one of those top 8 had a good enough season to deserve it. And I think match play is, I think, again, if you do 1 through 32, the 32 can win just as easily, basically, as a 6, which is not fair. But if you get down to 8 or even 16, all of those guys basically have had a good enough season to deserve it. And even in other sports like hockey or football, the best team in the regular season doesn't always win the playoffs or deserve it. It actually usually never happens that way. The 1 seeds don't usually win, unless it's, I guess the Chiefs have been kind of winning in the NFL a lot, but the 1 seed does lose in other sports. So it's not like they should have a gimme win or
Besides
a gimme
college
walk to the
basketball.
FedEx Cup. Yeah, besides college basketball. Yeah.
But if I might go off of what Dan was talking about before you, Bob, about the Sunday of the Tour Championship. I know from my perspective on Instagram, and Bob, your perspective on Twitter, that had to be the most boring round to track.
I didn't even
ever.
I didn't even want to be there.
There's no interest for me and probably you and how much thousands of dollars Jordan can add to his bank account. There's just no intrigue there. That's why at least match play would be awesome, because when we lose, we're out of it. Every match has importance.
Exactly.
So
yes.
I don't know. Hopefully the PGA Tour is listening to this.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. I think that may have been the most meaningless round, because Jordan Spieth has not played this format yet until this year. That might have been the most meaningless round of his career, if you take money out of the equation, because give me round 4 at the Wyndham, tied for last, or even solo last by like 3 shots. At least there, you're still playing for FedEx Cup points. There's no FedEx Cup points to play for in the Tour Championship. The season's over after that. It's a clean slate. And the official world golf ranking points, as much as you want to say it, at that point, it's top 30. I'm not even thinking about official world golf ranking in that tournament, really, because not only is your spot on the leaderboard is not the spot on the official world golf ranking leaderboard, and it's not worth it enough to be looking at both. I fully agree that might have been the most meaningless round that I've ever had to track, just because of the fact that there literally was nothing on the line, even at the Wyndham, or what was the tournament where we were dead last after 3 rounds? I think it was we missed the cut at Wyndham. There's one tournament last year where he was like dead last going into the final round. At least there, every birdie gets him another half FedEx Cup point, which in the long run, and 3 birdies gets you up 25 FedEx Cup points. So, at least then there's something to play for.
Not even just placement. If you have a good Sunday at an event and you're going to play somewhere the week after, you can find something on that Sunday and take it in. We've 100%. Seen that plenty of times.
Yeah.
I will say one thing about the Tour Championship is that it might just be missing kind of a big moment. Like it hasn't had a chance to have a big moment in a
Right.
tournament. Like the reason Torrey Pines and the US Open
Mhm.
is so big is because of Tiger, right? And then
Yeah.
they got lucky again that Rahm did something special the last two holes to make
Yeah.
it seem
I
like
could rant about Torrey Pines for
to make it seem like it's a
hours.
Torrey Pines US Open gotta be there all the time because they put on a great tournament. And you know, to be fair, Torrey, like they did a good job of hosting the US Open, but
They did.
they got lucky that the golf that was played was like phenomenal by Tiger and Rahm. So now they have people like, oh yeah, Torrey Pines US Open is a good thing. And the Tour Championship Sunday just hasn't really had that, especially now with the starting strokes, it hasn't had that like, oh man, this Sunday was awesome. Like Rahm didn't drop a 50-footer to win, or Cantlay, he didn't hole out from somewhere or make a bunch of, make 5 putts coming down the stretch. And you're like, man, what a finish. And so maybe it just needs some time and some luck for, maybe next year we get 6-7 guys coming down the stretch that are all within 1 or 2 shots, and 18's a par 5. So
Maybe
a lot
it does.
could
Yeah.
happen there.
You're asking for a lot, but if I'm being honest, people just don't care. I mean, it's not a major.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a major.
The PGA Tour, I mean, they can do whatever they want. They can make it $50 million. It's not a major. Us golf fans, we're not getting the money in our pockets. We want to be there for the biggest moments in golf, which is 4 weeks a year. I guess some of you viewers think the Players is crazy too. I guess it's pretty big too. It's the flagship event. But there's 4 weeks a year where it really matters, and those are the memories that we remember.
And I think another thing is, which is probably, I'm sure the PGA Tour did not like to hear this. Jordan Spieth did say he would rather play well in the right. This is before he started playing.
Very true.
And he was right in the money. He was right there, right in contention. 6 shots back, which is still a lot, but like he could have won the FedEx Cup. He was even 2 shots back at one point during the week. He said that he would rather play well in an exhibition match 2 weeks later than he would play in the like biggest event on the PGA Tour, which is just that kind of tells the whole story. And you can say what you want about the PGA Tour. Again, you said that you could do anything to it. You can give them 50 million. You can give them. The players care about their legacy, and at the end of the day, at least those 30. If you're in the top 30 in the FedEx Cup, with exception to maybe 3 or 4, most of those guys are the best players in the world that if they didn't make another dime in their life would be okay. And at that point, they care about their legacy. And you could see Rory McIlroy has won 2 FedEx Cups, and it has added basically nothing to his resume. I mean, you can say it's added something, but like he still doesn't have the Masters, and that's what everyone talks about.
That's actually an interesting point about legacy, because I think you're right. Like having 2 of them is cool, right? Like I think he's the only guy to have 2, or maybe Tiger's got 2.
No, Tiger's only got 1, but he would have had like 8.
Right. Yeah. So it's just Rory. So if you have one, I feel like it's not that important. But yet at the same time, in this era of the Tour Championship existing, I guess, when you look back and you compare all these guys, obviously you're going to look at majors, you're going to look at the players, you're going to look at wins. But at the end, like there might be somewhere down the line some importance in having won
I will attest to that, because I do think, and I was talking to this with another tracker. I think it was tracking Rahm, and he said, and I was talking about how, well, the Olympics isn't that big of a deal. I mean, no one's really talking about Xander Schauffele winning the Olympics. I mean, it's a big deal for him, and usually that's the peak of sports, and that's a really cool moment. It's new, and the FedEx Cup is still relatively new. 50 years down the line, having a gold medal in your pocket could be very important. And that's why I'm happy Jordan Spieth has got the FedEx Cup out of the way, because I'm glad that he has it. But again, I think down the line, it could be a lot more important than we see it now, because again, it is new. I think it was created in 2007 or something like that. So yeah, it could have some importance, especially if they create a format that is fun to play in. I think that I think that if the only way to make it, I think match play would be the only way to make it like that much more fun in terms of fan experience. I still think even if you do the 10, that would make it better than it is now, but I still don't think it would be as good as match play in terms of viewing. But I think you bring up a really good point about how down the line it could be of some importance, because I think it's the same way with the gold medal. As of now, especially since people have skipped out of the first two Olympics with golf, but I think it is a very recent thing. So
yeah, the Olympics are going to make an upturn though, I think.
I do agree.
Supposed to talk about the Olympics today, but
yeah,
like they're going to Paris 2024.
Paris.
Are they playing it? Are they playing it? The Golf National?
That's
I hope.
that's sweet.
I really hope they are.
Is Riviera, I think.
Yes.
So people will want to go
I think that
play
would be
in those
big.
Olympics.
I think that would be a big
and
one. Yeah.
because of that, the Olympic gold medal will start to have in golf will start to have a lot more value. Because before, it was just the Olympics is a sign of who's the best at all of these other sports like track and I don't know, volleyball, that don't have these major championships the way golf does. So, but now I think the Olympics is on its way there, and who knows, maybe the Tour Championship will get there.
Well, again with the importance, I feel like it's very important in the women's game, just because the women's game is a lot more diverse, and I feel like you do in the men's Olympics, you do not have the best players in the world there.
No,
you have some of the best ones, but you only have 4 Americans. At least there are a lot of, obviously Koreans have their own set of dominance on the LPGA Tour, but there's still a lot of Asian countries that are pretty dominant. You have South Korea. China has a lot. Japan, a lot of Thailand. So again, you have a lot of different. You have more of the best of the world in the women's game,
right?
And I think that does kind of sort of take away from the men's game, because the men's game will always be European and American dominant. I feel like it's just like how it is. But
I have 3 things on the Olympics. 1, it will be at Le Golf National, which is
fantastic.
And
that
awesome.
Course was so fun.
It was fun. 2, I think we're forgetting that this Olympics in the past, they both had health concerns, which
I agree.
The reason that we had Zika and COVID. And 3rd, the thing that's weird about the Olympics is it's like a collection. It's like a small collection of the best. Yes, it's so hard to qualify for, but then again, if you don't win the Olympics, you're not beating the best. You got to be the best to qualify, but you're not beating the best. So it's weird.
That takes away, and I think that you have to do something. I think what would be a great way to do it, I think you make the field closer to 100 and the top 25 are exempt, and then you do the rest. Top 25 in the world get in. But then after that, you do the same. So I think the field's around 70 as of now. Those 70 players are still in, and then you exempt the other top 25. I think that's a way to really up the prestige of it. But again, I think that's what the Olympics is lacking. I know we weren't even supposed to talk about that, but yeah, I think the Olympics is on the upturn as well. Hopefully Jordan plays in one, because I know he said he would have played this year even. But again, with the health concerns, even that, Sergio Garcia said he didn't want to play because he'd rather prepare for the Ryder Cup. Again, it's a lot of traveling. And same thing with Dustin Johnson, just again,
it's
with people
skipping out for these guys too. I think they're definitely only interested in going to the places where they want to go.
Yeah.
I forgot someone who it might have been DJ. So you can take it with a grain of salt because it's coming from DJ, but I think he said Tokyo, no, Paris. Yeah, it sounds a little more appealing. He said, I think he said he'd go, but of course it's coming from DJ, so take it with a grain of salt. But Paris is it's probably a much more fun place, no COVID restrictions than it would be to go to Japan. So I get it.
Yeah. All right. Well,
before we get to rookie of the year and Zalatoris,
Yep.
I want to just read Rom's OWGR results because they're kind of ridiculous. Starting from the Tournament of Champions, he's got T7, T7, T13, T5, T32, T9, T5, T5, a miscut
Holy.
at Wells Fargo, then T34, T8, and then the WD, which would have been a win, and then win 7, T33, T9, T1. That's insane. He's on an absolute tear right now.
That is insane.
And I don't know how I'm
Could add a miscut to that though.
Yeah. Oh, true. This week, I guess he just missed the cut at the Fortinet. Maybe that's good for the Ryder Cup. If you haven't checked out the
Again,
Ryder
I don't
Cup,
think John Rahm really cared about this week. So,
but
Nah.
he's averaging 10.7 points per event. And
That's absurd.
second is DJ at 8.8.
That's absurd. What's
So-
Jordan averaging right now?
Jordan is averaging something like 5, I think. Yeah, 5.45. So
But that's like
Rahm is
everything in the
basically
past 2
doubling
years,
Spieth.
right?
Yeah, it's 2 years.
All right, so that's
Yeah.
not that bad considering he's the
No, it's
year,
pretty
the
good.
first year. Take it with a
And
grain of salt.
honestly, because he's not playing for a while with because of the baby, a lot of the really bad results from 2 years ago are going to be dropping off, and his divisor is going to go way down. So he could,
Yeah.
in theory, he could move up these rankings a little bit.
No,
before
yeah, and I think
he
that
tees it back
is
up
that
in,
isn't
Hawaii.
something I wanted to talk about in future episodes about how he's got a lot of bad results coming out, which could deem beneficial to him. But
For sure. He's third in 2021 in points gained behind Rahm
Yeah.
and Morikawa. So if you're just talking about 2021 and taking out 2020, he's gained the third most points this year.
Yeah.
all right, so there are only 2 awards on the PGA Tour. There is the Player of the Year, as we went over. There used to be the Comeback Player of the Year, which I think we are all in agreement Jordan Spieth would have won, but that is no longer an award. I forget when they took it out. It was a few years ago. And then the third one is Rookie of the Year, and obviously that was a pretty lopsided occurrence. Will Zalatoris and Garrick Higo were the only 2 of the rookies that were nominated. I'm not sure how many there were, but Will Zalatoris obviously won. He had a few top 10s in majors. And I know he didn't have a win. Garrick Higo did have a win at was it the Palmetto?
Palmetto.
Yeah. So there was that, but yeah, I don't know what your guys' takes is, because I think there is a little bit to take away from this, just because of the fact that there's a big difference between who had a better season and whose season you would rather have.
Yeah. Hey, I'll go ahead. I'll start. I'll also go to the official World Golf Ranking and read Garrick Higo's results since winning at Palmetto. Miscut, T41, miscut, T53, withdraw, T64, miscut. So since he's won, he's done basically nothing. Yes, Zalatoris didn't win, but Zalatoris had a very consistent year.
He deserved the award.
Masters.
He deserved the award.
I mean, as I said earlier, I think there was an argument to be made for Cantlay. I don't see an argument to be made for Higo.
I don't, and that's not what I'm
Zalatoris.
trying to say. I'm trying to say that why I'm bringing this up is I feel like if you had to choose whose season you would rather walk away from going into the next year, regardless of the name, because I know Will Zalatoris' name himself and what he did this year gets him into a lot of events in the future, purely because and we'll also get into future groups and stuff. But regardless of the name, just resume wise, whose year would you rather have? Would you rather have the 8 top 10s, 14 top 25s, and a big goose egg on the win column, or would you rather go into your second year on the tour as a PGA Tour winner, not getting that out of the way?
Give me Will.
Really?
Just personally, I take Will. We hear all the time about these guys. The one word I always hear is consistency. Will was consistent. If Will just continues to be consistent, he'll win next year. I'm fully confident. He'll be a full-time PGA Tour member. Won't have that on his back anymore.
That's true.
I fully expect good things from Will next year.
Yeah, that's tough because I think there's something to monitor with Will Zalatoris is that he has one professional win like Corn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour, all of those like won a singular,
which is
win.
crazy because didn't he won the Corn Ferry Tour points list this year, and he didn't even play the second half of the year.
Right. Yes.
Which is crazy how he built up that many points with only one win.
Right. He was
especially given
yeah, he was super consistent this year. He played a lot of really, really good golf. I'd probably have to take his season over Higgos, because I think, if you put yourself in that spot to win a lot, and even though you didn't, you can take a lot from losing and figure out how to win. But I think he needs to win kind of soon. He's kind of in the same boat as Scotty, is like, all right, you've been playing really good golf in these tournaments for a while. When are you gonna break through and win? And the thing with Higo is he won a lot in Europe, I think. I mean,
Oh yeah,
they're not a ton of great events, so he's not that high on OWGR, but he won a lot of he wins. And I think it's kind of like the Cam Champ argument too, and that when he doesn't play good and he just wins. So I think I would pick Will's, but Higo's win is definitely something that made me consider picking him.
So
go.
Give
me one thing real quick.
No, 100%.
You're good. So my only thing is I give Higo the full props for winning at the Palmetto, but in my opinion, I just do not put a bunch of stock in him winning, 4 or 5 times on the European Tour against weak fields. It's like winning the Puerto Rico on the PGA Tour. I just can't put a lot of stock into it.
Yeah, I get that. And another thing I do want to, and I'm still going to take, because again, I'm not taking who I think is going to do better in the future. I'm taking whose resume I'd rather have now. I would take Higo. I think that a win is more important than anything, especially because that's all they care about there. As Tiger Woods said, if you're playing for second place, and if you're or if you're happy with second place, you don't have the right mindset. So I think I will say one thing. Higo's win was very different and something that you do not see on tour very often. He finished his round like 3 shots back. He never thought down the stretch that he was really going to have a chance to win, which in the end, he shot the lowest score. So that's still a win. But I do think there is something to be said about being clutch down the stretch. And he was, but the pressure was not nearly what it was if he was in the final group, because I think it was Russell Henley. Was it Russell Henley?
Oh God, it might have been Charles Howell. I think.
Was it Charles Howell?
Who
had a big
bogey 3 out of 4 to finish.
I think it was Henley.
Was it Henley?
Henley was up there on a lot of leaderboards this summer.
No, he was. He was at the U.S. Open too.
He gave a lot of them away.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, so I think there's something to be said about that. I don't know what you guys feel about that, because again, there is something to be said about putting a score on the board. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Hao Tong Lee was tied for second for most of the afternoon at that Open. That I think that was the one Jordan. No, I'm talking about the one Jordan won, where he went off at like 1 a.m. in the morning, and he was tied for third behind. He was the guy. It was Spieth, Kuchar, and then there was Hao Tong Lee with a 63 fired off one of the first groups. And so there's something to be said about putting a good score on the board and making players chase a number. But again, that's why I think I would take Will going forward, but I would take Higo's resume, just because of the fact that, again, a PGA Tour win is not easy to come by. And we saw that firsthand. Jordan Spieth is a generational talent, and he did not win for 4 years.
Right.
So who knows if Will Zalatoris will ever win. I think he will, but again, that putter is a big issue. So, and it's tough to win out here without a putter down the stretch.
Yep.
Regardless of how
very fair point.
Yeah, regardless of how well you strike the ball. Jordan Spieth was was so deadly coming down the stretch because of his putter back in
Yeah.
the day.
At Valero,
Because
too.
not only is it important to make putts, but there's nothing more demoralizing as an opponent than having your opponent drain 20 footers all around.
Right.
Because then it's just like, what more can I do?
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about that too.
Yeah. So it was Chesson. Sorry, Jordan. It was Chesson
Good.
Hadley with the final round 75 to lose by 1 at the Palmetto. And Bob, your point is well taken about like comparing resumes, because obviously Higo has a W on his resume, but I think sort of bigger than the resume, Will Zalatoris set himself up for 20 years of success on the PGA Tour.
I 100% agree with that.
He established a good name brand. He played well at a major, right? A runner-up at the Masters is cool.
Multiple majors.
Right. Yeah. And he putted really well at Augusta too. And
he did.
So maybe that's a tournament that he could close out in the future. So even without the wins, the consistency helped him sort of build the base of what I think is going to be a good career. And Higo, I guess the win kind of, people know about Garrick Higo now because he won 3 times in like 6 events or whatever, 2 in Europe and 1 in the States. But I think building that name brand, especially as social media becomes more and more prevalent, I think will help Will Zalatoris out more in the long run, even without golf, like without how good Zalatoris and Higo are. I think that'll be more important in the future.
Yeah, that's a very fair point.
So
Look forward to seeing Will on Ryder Cup teams in the future.
For sure.
I do. He's not someone I want to play with right now because of his putter, but I do think he'll get that figured out, especially with how Willie Ball strikes the ball. Yeah. I think he'll get the putter figured out at that level.
Sorry, but just the weird thing with Will is he putted well at Augusta. It's usually the bad putters putt poorly at Augusta. So if he can putt at Augusta, there's something he can figure out to putt. I mean, easier golf courses. That's a hard place to putt at.
Well, another thing is we look at it differently, but I was talking to someone who I know from the Cape. He's a professional golfer on, I think, the PGA Tour Canada, Spencer Sussman. And I remember he told me like 6 years ago, when he was teaching me, when he was going full ride to UCLA, and then he later transferred to Texas. That those players out there, the bad putters out there, are better than we've ever seen.
Oh, for sure.
So a bad putter out on the PGA Tour, you have to take into the fact that those greens are ridiculous. Like those guys have at least some touch that they can figure something out with it. So yeah, I think it's a bright future.
He'll figure something out.
He
would be a great foursomes Ryder Cupper, I think.
Yeah.
And then he's not a guy you want to play in the singles.
Not a chance. And I do think, and I will say, I know a lot of people do not like him just because of the fact he's very overhyped. And I understand that. I'm not against him at all. I think he's a very likable guy. He seems like a very nice guy. But he's got to get over the hump, and I'll be very interested in talking about him in future pods, especially with him coming down the stretch in tournaments, because I think he's going to get his name up there a lot.
For sure.
Yep.
He's an easy guy to like too, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that all we got? Or
I think that's all we got. Yeah. So next week we'll see. We'll definitely have a Ryder Cup recap after the Ryder Cup. I don't know. Maybe if it's close and we have some time Saturday night, maybe we could put something together. But we'll see. It depends. But it is Ryder Cup week. We are looking forward to watching Jordan play in most likely all 5 rounds. I know I'll be busy Friday, but Saturday and Sunday completely booked for the Ryder Cup, sitting on the couch 10 hours straight both days. So looking forward to it. I know everyone else here is, and looking forward to talk about it when it's over. So yeah.
Yeah. And last time he'll play probably until
This is probably
January.
the last.
So-
He's not playing any fall events, so this will be the last time we see him until Kapalua, essentially.
Right.
So
enjoy it
because yeah, it's especially as we found out during the COVID layoff.
It's tough.
It's tough because there's you like right now I'm fine with the Spieth week off because obviously there's football going on and stuff, but you miss it eventually being a diehard fan. And I think there's nothing like Jordan Spieth in contention for me.
Sure.
That last spring was just so much fun. Even when he lost, the Saturday nights were just incredible going into Sunday, being on a leaderboard. I remember I was downstairs eating dinner with my brother and I like couldn't breathe. Waste management Saturday night. I was literally like, I had butterflies in my stomach. I was already so scared because we hadn't seen it in like almost a year since Colonial. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him, but this is very good. I do not be mistaken. This will be very good for Jordan. He is going to come out of the gates a very happy man, which is a very good thing for his game. So
yeah, it'll be a tough wait because I know for him and I know for us, the fire burns after the Open.
it does.
There's
I think
a
tough.
fire in him after coming in second that I think next year could be special. We'll see.
Next year could be special.
It'll be a tough wait. But
and again, there's something about, I know no laying up always says a perspective. I mean, golf is no longer the most important thing in his life, and that will take a lot of pressure off of him. He's not going, and I think that's a good thing. I think you need that balance in your life because golf has been everything to him since he was like 10 years old. So that's crazy. But he's going to have that lift off his back, and he's always going to have that kid to go home to after a bad round, which I think really takes a lot off his back. And so, yeah, I think that would be really good for him. Looking forward to it. And yeah, I think that's all we got for this episode, but we'll be back next week. Ryder Cup coming up. Player of the year was a good discussion. I think again, PGA Tour, what's new? They never get anything right, but we'll see. We'll talk to you guys again after the Ryder Cup's over and maybe Saturday night. We'll see. But yeah, that's it.
see y'all soon.
Yep. Peace.